Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Wildcard Podcast. Crazy round of 32, or as we have to call it, Telescope 32 in space. Got the relegation field set, a lot of Super League bubble aspirations and intentions, a little bit of that D2 LCQ, and boy, oh boy, 8 incredible games ahead in the Starburst 16. But it all starts with some opening statements. Gee, what a crazy round we had in terms of gameplay. A lot of great games, a lot better games, too, in terms of hosting. Nothing stupid on that end. Talk me through it, G. What about your side? What you saw?
I think this was a much better round than last round. We unfortunately did still have one DQ, but again, I think overall the matches were better and a lot less nonsense. But that's not to say there wasn't nonsense. It's just, especially after last round, I think this was a bit of a nice breath of fresh air. Obviously, it didn't go perfect, but let's be honest, none of them go perfect. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good round, and I'm looking forward to getting into it.
All right, let's get into it. Let's begin. We're going to start it off with the top of the bracket.
Starting off with a big upset here.
Yeah, for Tapiri, he's coming off Bye Island, and Bye Island's been something this year, but I think this was a case of Tapiri just didn't understand the ball a little bit, try to work out the kinks, and it happens, right? You just try to understand coming off the win with an old platform, and he did fight, and he was really good in Game 6, 7, especially Game 5 to rally back. But he just couldn't have enough in that last Game 7 where Bo just had an advantage on power play. Tapiri got iced out, made one raw move, admitted to it, and he moves on. I think that he's not in any danger. Right, maybe Bye Island, he might lose that double Bye Island, but for Bowtie, big opportunity, right, to get a top 5 win. A lot's got to go right still for him, but something's moving in the right direction. He's clicked ever since that T4 run he made, for sure, against ALP. Thoughts on Bo's win? Do you think Tapir's still safe on double bye, or do you think single bye might be the case with the resume?
I mean, I'm looking at the rest of this bracket here. I think there's a lot of opportunity here for all these players, but I think they need a lot to go right as well. But going back to the Bowtie matchup, I think this is a great win for Bowtie. Definitely proved a lot of people wrong because a lot of people were doubting him after his round of 8 run in the last tournament. So continuing the momentum there, gets a huge win against Tapir, probably the biggest he's gotten so far this season, and keeping his hopes alive. He was barely in the top 25 in the last reveal show and able to back that up in this tournament. Makes it a round of 16. It's going to have an interesting opponent next in this next round. So we'll see if Bowtie can keep the momentum going and possibly make a surprise deep run to sneak into the Super League field. But for Tapir, I think it's going to be a wait and see. I mean, personally, I think he's getting a bye, but whether it's a double bye or a single bye, I'm not too sure yet, but we'll have to see how it breaks down.
Yeah, hard to read on that. That will be more of a different conversation. A lot of chaos happened behind, too, which is what he needed. Next match, well, he didn't need this chime in. He was looking for single bye. That's over. Those dreams are done. Allen just came in there, from what I understand, late game, 10 o'clock. Vintage house money, Allen's back. Look, I've seen this guy in the server, right, in the past, 6 years ago in Victory Lane. When he's on a different level, gotta watch out. I wonder what his aspirations will be now that he's safe from D1. Talks, right? He was, I think he was the only guy left, right? He was the only guy left, which set the relegation field, which we'll talk about a little later. Looking forward to see what Allen does. I think for Chomik, the level of concern is 0 for me. Yeah, he's got 3 round 32. I'm still not concerned. I really ain't. And I think he knows that if we're not going to be in no round 32 anymore. It's a different format for Super League, and players play differently with no power play. I think Chomik could be one of those players. I'm not concerned. He's in the field. However, if there's one thing I will like to see from Chomik, maybe a little more reps on the bot. He did mention after I talked to him the next day, like, I need some more reps. So that's something he could look into. But other than that, I think he's fine for Allen. Let's see what he can do against Ball. I think Allen's got a favorable path potentially to make an E8 for sure. What's your thoughts?
I do agree with that. I do agree with the Allen point. Does have a favorable path here, and he also gets the win here to avoid relegation. There is a point on Chomik that I would like to bring up in one of these matchups later, and it does revolve around the round of 32. But I mean, for Allen, I mean, he's not making the Super League field unless he wins the tournament. So it's go big or go home in terms of that aspect. But I mean, it's got to be a good feeling for Allen that he was able to clutch out in this last tournament to avoid being in that relegation tournament, securing his D1 spot for next year, and especially after what's been generally a rough year both on and off the table. So good to see Allen do very well. We'll see how far he goes, but in terms of postseason, I mean, he has to win the tournament, otherwise that's gonna be it. So I don't see a single path where Allen can get in without a tournament win.
Now he has to win the whole thing, and the fact that he's in D1, I think is the right move, right? At the end of the day, I don't know if he would fit down there. No offense, but this guy, the way he's playing, could be something to watch next year. He's got hopefully a cleaner year on the table and off the table as well. Well, this was a no-brainer, G. I think we both kind of agreed. At least I said this is just going to be another 4-1 Carson Classic because he just has Logan's style figured out, and it's clear as day that Carson knows how to figure out one player specifically. That's Logan. The problem for Carson, his resume isn't the best, so he's going to have to go further. And for Logan, he stays alive in D1. He talked about that with the DJ win. I think this is a building block to go off of, right? Nothing silly. Something to build a base off of in the future. He did a good job against Carson. Sure, he lost 8-2 in the year. That may end up getting blacklisted or something down the road. But there is a little bit to be said that at least he tried and put the effort in to make improvements. What do you think?
I think for Logan, the real goal is to get out of the relegation tournament. He did that against DJ Curtis, which I think also might have ended DJ Curtis's season. So some
Maybe.
potential consequences there, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's Carson's kind of his Achilles heel. Hasn't really figured it out yet, and loses 4-1 again. I think that might be something he looks into the offseason to try to figure out a way to maybe get a victory if they ever play again. But again, Carson just did what he needed to do. That's what he's done in these first two rounds. He just needs to get that big win, which you could make an argument maybe it comes up next year, but gonna have to find something more. He's been one of those people all season who's been on the lower range of the top 25 if he's in there, but just hasn't really found any notable wins to sustain himself to launch into the top 15. So needs to find something here. Otherwise, it's gonna just be a season where he gets some wins, but nothing too crazy.
He's on that Caesar arc. I think Caesar and him are very similar. Unfortunately, just have not had the quad 1 and quad 2 resume to boost. Straight to schedule's been a little weak. We'll see. Carson's a sneaky character. He's a man that usually doesn't get many stream games. We'll see how he approaches it. First two games were not really streamed much. We'll see how he approaches a stream game and does it against this next guy because, gee, I know people are going to be like, well, what's going on, Kay, and all that. I'm going to rest assure you nothing's going wrong with me. I got the data, right? I had a lot of tools that I could have checked over during that match. I'm content. I'm happy. I built the data. Congrats to Toaster Guy. So what? He had all those plus fours. At the end of the day, I fought for an hour, right? If I had a little bit more of that CH in the future, maybe this could have been a little differently. But I take that L. I accept it. I'm happy with the result. I know what I got to do. And I prevent bigger, at the end of the day, I prevent guys like Carson getting a big win. Because the more big wins people get, it could get worse for me, right? So I figure, all right, let's take it here. Let's keep evaluating. Let's keep watching games and build that notebook. That's the nice thing when you have a TW. You got that tournament. Same with Cap, right? We were the two guys who were just slacking off in the mid-year. I'm content. I know what I did. I know how to improve. I shoot the 20 card rule. I followed that to a T, right? I didn't want to break anything. So I'm good. I got the data. Let's see how we do in Super League because I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably in the same spot as Tapir right now. We'll see which island I'm in, but the 3-0 in quad 1 definitely carries me because that's really the only thing that's carried me the whole season. Just that ludicrous top 5 wins. But I'm good, G. I don't think I'm going to be too concerned about this. I think this might be a level of concern for you or some, but I'm not concerned. I'm having a good time. Can't lie.
I mean, when we talk about you, we talk more or less about what you do in Super League and how you get to the end to win the whole thing. And so I do have this question for you, and this also ties into Chomik. Both of you have had 3 straight round of 32 losses, have not won since May, so that's nearly a 4-month winless streak. And for you, KT, depending on where you end up, it could end up being 5. So you're saying you're fine and whatnot, and I do believe you on that. But when it comes down to when you don't really have the momentum going on your side, what's the thought process there in how you approach each game? Because it's not something that maybe at the forefront of your mind all the time, but it is something that kind of lingers in the back. It's like, man, I haven't won in a while, and that's not a great feeling to have per se. So any thoughts on how that mentality goes and what you do to try to fight that?
I go back to when I kissed that March trophy back in March. I always go back. I'm still that guy. At the end of the day, I know what I can do. Chomik doesn't have that, right? He doesn't have that trophy, but the one thing he has is at least there is no round 32. He's going to probably have to go through groups. That's 100% confirmed at this rate. At least I'll have a little bit of an island, right? I'll have time to work on it. And at the end of the day, I look at the notebook. I just keep watching games, see what I can learn, improve, understand the meta, and I'll be back, right? At the end of the day, if I end up on single buy island, right, I'll have most of the group stage. And if I get double buy, I'm automatically in the round of 8, right? That's a huge difference. I'm already there, right? I'm halfway there. Versus when you're doing regular season stuff, you got a long way to go. I'll be all right. I really don't think I'm going to be too concerned about this. If this was a 4-1, right, and it was a 20-minute series, then we might have some concern. I actually might be concerned, even if it was he had all the luck. I'd be concerned. I can't fight. But if the fact that it took an hour and I couldn't even use some of the tools, it's a little bit different. Do I have to adjust my gameplay? Maybe. Is it a one-off player? Yeah. Toaster guy is a player that will just get you to Uno, and when he gets the ammo, he'll go downhill a lot. Right? I've seen that a couple times this season, but not a lot to that extent. So now I have the data on how to counteract it if I get a player like that. But we'll see. At the end of the day, that's why you win a tournament. Yeah, I haven't won technically. Well, I technically won a DQ game, but I haven't won a real series.
That doesn't really that's not really count.
I'm not really concerned, G. 87-time winner in this league. I know what I'm doing. I've got a lot of playoff wins in one season. Only Super Leaguer to have made it back so far. That might change. We're good. I think in the past maybe I would be more down about myself, maybe 5-10 years ago. But now it's like, you know what? I've had a great year. Let's keep rolling, right? Because all that matters, I got the first trophy. Let's see if we can get the big trophy. We get that big trophy, all that will be put to the side of that conversation. And if I get, even if I don't win it, right? You still won March. You maybe make a Final Four in Super League. I'm content, man. Because a lot of people would wish to be in this position. You would be wished to be in this position. Half the field would, right? But not everyone has that luxury, so I take that with a blessing, and we'll move on. But I'm not too concerned, even though what people might say, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're just kind of talking about it. I think it's a good question to bring up. So, yeah, it's good to hear your thoughts on that. But now we go from going to a buy island to just going to an island in general. KT, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, G, you're up 2-0, and then just Tigo ran 4 straight. I know there was that weird game 3, but other than that, I think that really summed up your season, that game. It just never clicked, right? Or if it did click, it would always be 1 or 2 turns too short. I thought you were going to win that series, man, up 2. I thought, man, there's no way, G might pull the upset here. But you had a good win against Clay. You secured yourself in D1. I'm not concerned, man. Honestly, I'm not really concerned. I think next year with the new bot, with the card history, you're in a good spot. If anything, this hurts Tigo, if anything, because he didn't need the next match coming in. He needed some more good wins. It hurts him because unfortunately your wins are quad 4, right?
Mhm.
So what does a loss matter to you? It was a rough season. I'm sure you're in the mindset. You already texted me. I'm on an island of our own, right? Just enjoy, finish up the year as a commissioner in D2, and finish up the year as a player. Now you finished it up. You learned some things. I don't think you're going to be too worried about it now that next year we'll have the full. I think next year will be more of a proving ground. You'll have the full platform for the full year. As far as Tigo, look, I was critical about him, but unfortunately, I don't think he's got that game where I can say he's ready yet. Because unfortunately, no offense, the next matchup that we're going to preview isn't it. And unfortunately, you were already kind of not checked out, but more just checked out to the nearest hotel if you lost the game. If worst came to worst, and it happened, right? You were just playing with house money. So I'll see where Tigo lies, and probably if he gets to the R8, which is going to be more of a test. But the next match won't be anything. And for you, like I said, I think it'll be a bounce back next year, despite some of the interesting things that happened your way this year. Sure. What's your thoughts on your overall season?
I mean, the best way I could summarize this is has been like I don't know. I wouldn't say Logano 2017, but trying to think of like going off. I guess a Chastain year, I guess, in a way, or Chastain 2017, or maybe even Truex 2022. Just like nothing seems to really go right, and that's just kind of how it is. I did what I needed to do to at least not be at risk of relegation, but it was just not a great year. It was an off year, and that's just how it is. So I have zero chance of making Super League this year, so just gonna be watching as a spectator. probably using the offseason more to get more reps in, because I think for most of the season wasn't really able to do that much due to having to run D2 and then other commitments I have. So yeah, just not the season I was hoping for, and we'll see what happens next year, but hopefully it'll be better than 2-5.
It will, man. I think it will. Like I said, you got to think positive. There's a lot that can happen. I know the field is going to get more competitive. We'll see how it goes in 2025 for you. Well, I'm just going to keep this short. I really don't want to talk about this next match, but I guess we will. I'm not going to discuss what happened off the table. That's just not my business at this rate. It's unfortunate what happened with Lane and Ren. I'm glad they solved it. They figured it out, but that's not what we're here to do. At the end of the day, I think Lane he got rattled a little bit with that crazy stuff. Unfortunately, a little bit of old Lane came back, but I'm not too concerned. If he squeaks by, right, because we don't know what's happening with a lot of people ahead. If he does squeak by in Super League, it'll be more of a test. As for Radin, man, he's the most polarizing figure left in this game. Well, he's left in the round of 16, other than Allen, maybe. Allen's not polarizing, but he has nothing to lose. I would say those two are definitely guys on house money, the new two guys. I was impressed with Radin. I'll give him credit. I was impressed that he backed up that talk, but it's going to be a challenge against Tago. If he can, because at the end of the day, if he gets the Tago win, then I'll start thinking differently. Okay, what does that say about Tago, and what does that say about Red? Does he have this strategy to get under people's skin? Because if that's the case, that's a whole different talking point, and that's a whole different thing where I could come in and talk about psychological warfare. But I'm going to chalk this up. The Lane got rattled under his skin a little bit. I think he'll be okay right now, G. I'm going to say he's in that bubble combo, but I think he might get away with murder. There's a lot of chaos that happened behind and some losses that may have actually worked out. We don't know what's good with Eli. I think Lane, he still might be okay, but I'm interested to see how Radin goes. What do you think?
I think Lane's going to have a hard, obviously not really, but it will have figurative. It's going to have a hard time sleeping for these the next few days or so, depending on how long this tournament runs, because I don't think he's safe at all. Definitely on that bubble conversation, I think there is a real possibility he does miss the field. Because again, you got to remember he jumped into the top 25 in the previous show without being in the prior top 25. He's never been in the top 25 prior to last tournament, so he's kind of one of those players who could be seen as someone who goes a bit flexible, someone that we've seen similar to like Avian jumped really high, 12 spots, and then dropped down to 6 in the next tournament from post 3 of the post tournament 4. So I think Lane's one of those people who could go all over the place, and I think that's not really the spot you want to be in coming into tournament 5. So he's on this bubble, and I would be concerned if I was him, but we'll see if he makes it, but I think it's going to be close.
Be close. That's going to be a hell of a talk, right? Who knows, G? Maybe we finally get it back again. Maybe we go back to debates. I'm not even sure what that would be. Who knows what that could be? We could have multiple debates for multiple things at this rate. It's going to be a crazy couple days deliberating on figuring the field out. Well, G, I think this next match, this was kind of expected. I mean, we really didn't expect much out of this match. It was Ashley's 100, and she pretty much just took care of business. Won the 100th game and then just rolled. I think Zay. I know Pac said Zay could give a challenge, but I just didn't see it. I think Ashley's just too strong of an opponent for some of these people. Right, world champion player. At this rate, it's probably going to be in contention for a #1 spot with Brad. I think those are the two people you got to watch. Maybe, because there is an interesting matchup with Brad. Looks good. I don't really know what to say, G. Looks good on the bot. Looked pretty clean. Didn't have any mistakes compared to the Aiden Smith, where Aiden Smith could have easily won. Didn't really see many mistakes from Zay, so that was a clean game. I think Ashley's just rounding into form. That's all I got.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. In terms of a season overlook for Zay, they kind of went over my expectations. I didn't really have a lot of high hopes for them, but 4 and 5 was definitely better than what I was initially predicting. But I think they kind of just didn't really have anything where Ashley the run ran out here. Ashley just keeps the momentum going. I think that Ashley does need a good run here to make sure she's solidified into at least the top 2 or 3. So she's doing a good job here. She does have an important matchup coming up next, but overall, Ashley hasn't really lost a beat since missing tournament 4, and we'll see what ends up happening with her as she looks to possibly make a 3rd finale, which would be kind of crazy.
We'll see how far she'll take it. That's the big thing with Ashley. At a certain point, we'll see when she cuts it off. Well, Yepes was on the bubble entry. I still think he is on the bubble, G, only because of that DQ win, and he got the win off of Sting. Where there could have been more aspirations, but he's going to get his chance next round. I don't have much to say on this one. Just seemed like Sting was playing in. That dumb call-out stuff was happening on both ends. I'm telling you, Pez is not doing that for the next match. He's not going to be doing that dumb call-out stuff. He knows who he's playing. It's a little bit different style. Sting, I mean, he had a 5-win year. I think the problem is, G, it's hard to really say he overexceeded expectations because that rookie class was so good. I think he did enough to potentially land himself as a veteran next year, if anything. He might be in that consideration. Did a good job. I think the big thing for him that I need to see in Sting, I know he got that Caesar win, which was probably his breakout win. I know it's Rip as well. I think I need to see a little more composure from him. If we get that composure next year, it gets back to more of that well-rounded composure I know Sting can do. Then he's good. I think he actually could very well make a run next year in the Super League or something. But right now, it's hard to read. I'm going to say Sting, he'll be on the bounce-back trail. For Yepes, he knows what's at stake, G. He knows if he wins this next game, probably in. If he doesn't, he's going to have to scrap because the problem for him is the quad 3 and 4 is not the best, right? It's good, but it's not good enough in the overall grand schemes. And his quad 1 and 2, despite the Brad win, it's not there. So that he needs to get this win to lock himself. If he doesn't, it's going to go into that mix of 10, 15 guys, and who knows what could happen. Is that a fair assessment to say on Yepes because of that DQ and changes the mentality a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. This was a playoff game going into it, and I think Yepes is able to be the one who comes out on top in this one. I mean, for Stingray, that's probably season over.
It is,
yeah. A little unfortunate because I think he was in a good spot until didn't really have a great tournament 3 or tournament 4, and then from that point it just kind of all fell apart. So, he was in the top 15 going into tournament 4, but then just completely fell out, and he's not going to get back in at this point. So, unfortunate way to end. I know we talked about that Drip Stingray match at the beginning of the year and thought maybe one of them was going to make it in, but in reality, both are going to end up missing the field. So, unfortunate to see that. I think Stingray was another one who people were looking at as a potential solid rookie, although he did sometimes have some nonsense happen. People still were optimistic, but unfortunately will likely miss the field this year. So we'll see what he does next year. For Yepes, big matchup coming up going against Ashley. I think a win here will make sure he's in the field, like 100% at least. I think he's on the bubble right now still, so we'll see what happens with that. But if Yepes can get the win over Ashley, I think that's what confirms him into Super League this year.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. World champion from the league versus a world champion in the other parts of the universe. We'll see how that one goes. It's going to be a good generational match. And I know now this next one, I know you're going to be very, very critical of Peter Onjak. Well, I want to say Peter played very well there. I know he got swept, right? He was the only sweep of the round, unfortunately, other than Grimm, who couldn't make it. I still think Peter's that guy. I really do. He showed me something despite not having the CH. Right. I know he made some mistakes on art. He didn't make a mistake here. It just came down to he was just a little bit too exuberant on the cards, and Brad's patience has just worked this year. It's working. I'm not sure why it's working, but certain games it's working for Brad, and I just wonder if Peter has to adapt maybe a little bit more patience game, but I don't think it was the worst performance despite getting swept. I think it was a good year, all things considered. For Brad, what a unicorn year. I think it's him versus Ashley for number 1, maybe. And here's why I say maybe, because the next match is something to watch. But I think those are the 2 leading favorites right now to get that regular season championship. For Peter, I know he had that ALP loss in March and the wheels fell off. He did get a good solid end of the year. You get Peter and you get KT and Ard wins, especially in round 1 for Ard and round 2 for myself. You got to feel good. At least there is something. Sure was on the old platform and new platform 101. I don't think it's the worst thing for Onjak. We'll see how it goes for Brad, though. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do moving forward. What's your thoughts on Peters? I know you've been probably one of the more critical guys up this
year. I mean, unfortunately, this is kind of just how this has been expected to go for most of the year with Peter. I've just not really been impressed in any capacity. And yeah, I mean, I think this is I wouldn't say the perfect way, but I think this is a general way that could describe how I felt about his season, where it has some hype building up to it, and then it's just a bit of a disappointment. Only sweep of the round 2, so on Jack kind of in ground of his own there, but Brad just kind of walked through on Jack, really just kind of did, I wouldn't say plan A, but just kind of did what he wanted to do going into the match and just executed on it, and Andrade really didn't have anything to counter it, so I don't know. It's another Super League player who I've kind of been disappointed with this season. That would also include myself and Varigold, to name a few. But yeah, just not the year Onchek wanted. He's going to have to find something next year. Otherwise, he could be in trouble.
We'll see what Peter will do. He will have the card history for Brad. Keeps it rolling. I'm not sure what I wasn't here for this one. I was up North G, but Monkey should have won this game. He had opportunities. He even said, I had opportunity, I just blew it. And that's the thing when we talked about with Monkey. Could he get off the bat? I did say this would go 4-3, G. I remember saying that. And Monkey could give Cap. He gave Cap fits. But I wonder if Monkey, the pressure got to him. Right. The ultimate thing we talked about is he was really good in March and April. There's no pressure in March and April. It's free Uno. Right? In a way, it's free. There's not much. There's no resume. The problem is, as we got later towards the season, the pressure built and he cracked. Unfortunately, I think his season's over, G. He's the only guy in the league with 2 DQ wins. And just a lot of he doesn't have a lane tie break. There's just too much going against him to where I can see he gets in the field. I think it's a well-developed season for 8-win season, technically, even with the DQs, even though one was controversial. For Cap, number one opportunity is right there. If he can beat Brad, he's in the discussion. If he doesn't, then it's down to Brad Ashley. I think Cap's the only guy left that can make a run. I'm interested to see what Cap does. What's your thoughts on Monkey? I know you've been very critical of him as well. I think we both have. But I will say I was impressed that he at least took Cap 7, a top player.
I mean, he took Cap 7, but you said it yourself. He kind of blew it, so he needed this victory badly, and he had it in his hands and just couldn't execute. And I think that's really just going to be what cost him his season. We've seen a lot of these situations where it goes to the final game. Players do have a chance to possibly end it, and then just don't pull the trigger on it, and unfortunately don't really get another chance to do it. And yeah, that's kind of unfortunate to see. I think Monkey's season was substantially better than last year, but unfortunately, despite being in the Super League field for most of the year, I think the tournament 4 loss to Lane absolutely killed him, and really was not able to recover from that. So I think Monkey's gonna have to look back at this season, take a look at where the highs were, and then figure out where the lows were to how to correct them for next year. But yeah, an improvement from last season, but I think this was a huge missed opportunity for him.
We'll see how it goes for Monkey in 25. I'll be a building block here with the new Cap. Huge opportunity. Speaking of, this was a tough one to really talk about, G. I really thought Caesar would wipe the floor against Rodgers. I really did. It was not good. This was not Caesar Bruno. This was not. He should have lost this game, and he knows it. Got away with murder similar to how he did against Brando in T4. I hope that's just a sign of things to come, in a sense that it's just a one-off maybe in these future rounds, first round or second, but maybe he just has to get the rust off, maybe he has to sign. But Rodgers fought well, man. Hats off to him. I thought he was done. I thought for sure didn't have the Eli game to really warm himself up. All the controversy that still is surrounding Eli, which at this rate is not getting better. Congrats to Rodgers for putting up a fight. Caesar gets through, but similar, I guess, in a way to Tago, he's not going to like the end result on the other end, in the sense that who he's playing next, technically. I think Caesar's on. He might be in trouble here, G. I'm not going to say he's in 100% trouble, but he's going to have to start raising some alarm bells on just his play style. It's got to be reworked because it's too. You wonder if it's too to a point where he's seen a lot, right? This is another thing I thought about too. During my match, we were the two guys that tested everybody, right? And sometimes I thought about this before I came into the Toaster match, and I'm sure he did about Rodgers match as well. We've seen a lot of looks. Right? We've been on this thing forever. We've been since the start, and you wonder if maybe there's some fatigue, and I wonder if maybe you need to find a little bit of more of that freestyle. That I'm kind of foreshadowing that freestyle that maybe Caesar will find his next match against his player he's playing next, but not what he needed though in a sense of momentum. But do you think he can recover? And thoughts on Rodgers for a fair fight, and they took him 7 for sure.
I think the thing with Caesar is he needs to win this next upcoming round because right then there in the regional final, that's his opportunity because he'd get the winner of Captain and Brad, which both are good wins. So he needs that because we have talked about this all season. Caesar can play well, but the problem is he's literally just when he comes against an opponent that would be a really great win, he just is not up to the occasion. And I mean, he wasn't really up to the occasion in this one. Really got away with one, as you said. Rogers put up a phenomenal fight, but still not able to get the job done. And I mean, what a weird year for Rogers. Made it escaped relegation by virtue of doing nothing, pretty much. Just showed up. That's about it. And I think in general, just gotta really figure out what he needs to do better for next year. Maybe he just gotta lock into the April mentality, pull off a phenomenal run there, maybe even make it the Final Four there or something like that. But he needs to bring that April mentality to every other tournament of the year because he really was lacking in the wins this year. He was most just racking up L after L. So we'll see what he does next year, and hopefully a little bit less AB Rogers.
We'll see. Maybe we'll see if he returns. I don't think he will. I think he now understands the price tag on this body, understands the value. He'll be back.
I will say before we wrap this up here, I think I was impressed with how he conducted himself post game because definitely one of the more respectful endings, especially when it felt like he should have won. But yeah, that is just one thing I wanted to comment on. But that's about it.
Well, gee, I said, watch Cody. He could be someone away. He did the business. This was the best round of the series. Best
round of the series. Okay.
Yeah, best series. I was just so impressed. Lamas was down 2-0, right? You could have easily said right there he's done. But we talked about this. I was discussing with him the whiplash theory on the spot. You're never out of it. You really are never out of it. And he kept fighting and fighting 1-3 straight. Used a great power play where Ghost should have had Game 5. Then Ghost defensive power played him back in Game 6. Where I gave him the win that came down to a Game 7 where he just beat him to the punch when no one saw it coming. This looked like vintage Lamas. It really did. I think Cody's found something on the spot. I think he's locked back in, G. I've said since the beginning he's been locked in since the testing phase of this spot. He's been locked back in. I'm still high on Cody. I'll always be high on Lamas. It's not over till it's over. This is Cody's the Cardiac Cats. For Ghost, listen, he's got 8 wins, but a lot of those wins are in quad 3 and 4. I think he's all right, but man, I don't know. There's a lot that Ghost is going to have to look into to make sure he's ahead. Because, gee, when 6 out of your 8 wins are in quad 3 and 4, that ain't it, right? And he knows something's got to give. He does have that Ashley win, which is big.
I was about to say,
but that's about it. That's really it. Are you think you're safe on Ghost here, or do you think he's going to be in bubble hell? And thoughts on Cody's resurgence? It's there.
I think he's in Bubble Island, but I think he's on the higher end of Bubble Island. I would not put as much concern in the Ghost. Again, I mean, his quad 3, quad 4 resume is 6 wins and whatnot, so not great, but he does have the Ashley win, which is, in my opinion, a pretty big win, so I think that's just what ends up pushing him to be safe. For Lamas, I mean, I don't know. I still think that the idea of him getting into Super League is still far away. He still needs to do significantly more, and he's going up against a player who is known for kind of just being able to beat up on the people who are, I guess, lower in terms of the quads, and Lamas kind of dropped down to a quad. So is Lamas quad 2 or quad 3 now? I don't even remember. Quad 3, dropped to quad 3, and that's like the range where Caesar's very good at beating those players, so he's got to keep an eye out for that. But in my opinion, this next matchup here with Caesar Lamas, a loser does not make Super League. I'm not going to get my opinions shifted on that. I don't think either has done enough this year, and I think Lamas has too many terrible losses on the year to be in contention with just around a 16. I don't think either of these players makes it without a Final Four at minimum, and even then, I'm not even sure that'd be enough. So, got another playoff game coming up here, so we'll be interested to see how that goes. And when we get to our predictions, I think there's going to be a lot of discussion with this game.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game to know. I think a lot of guys know the pressure of that. They're going to be 2 to know it. Well, gee, you would think after Tapir and myself lost, that would naturally mean Nan would have the business to do, and we kind of said this was coming, unfortunately. Now, I did make a prediction. I said he might lose this game, but he'll cook in Super League. I hope it's right because he fell victim to just, I think, the moment, right? He's 14 years old, young kid. He saw game 100. He wanted to win it. and it's a new environment. I'm not reading too much into this. I really think Nam will bounce back in Super League. For Brock, he needed that win. That was a clutch win, right? You kind of capitalized on a little bit of mentality. You capitalized on the situation at hand. You said Brock the Rock can make a deep run. I'm starting to believe it now. For now, I'm not worried. He may have lost his chance to single by island, but I don't think he cares. He's in Super League anyway. So I think realistically, it comes down to what he does in that group stage, if he gets there or if he gets in the second round. We'll see where he is. I think he'll be ready. What do you think, G? Thoughts on Nam? I know you've been one of the few guys here that's been high on Brock, though, for sure.
I've been high on Brock since the start of the year, and I've just been disappointed after each and every time. But finally, the Brock I felt like that should have shown up all year has finally shown up, and I know I was really grimacing with my prediction of Brock making a out of nowhere run because I was mentioning we always have had one person who's been outside the top 25 every tournament who makes that deep run out of nowhere. And I picked Brock. I have been annoyed with him all year because I thought there was so much more he could offer, and he just hadn't delivered. But I stuck with my guns, and you know what? He's finally showing up here. Needs to keep the run going, but I have full belief in Brock who can do this if he keeps his form up. So yeah, I mean, I've had a few predictions this year where I've kind of been nearly spot on, so I'm wondering if this will be another one. But Brock continues the momentum here. Nam, I don't know if Nam's even gonna has a chance at single by Ireland. I mean, there is some chaos in the back, but I feel like even then, at 10 wins, I think his resume is just too weak to be in the top six. So we'll see what happens with that. And I really think with Super League, if he's in those groups, I think that first game is going to be telling, depending on how it goes. I'm really going to be focused more on that if he's in the groups.
I still think he'll coach you. I got a feeling he'll lock in Super. I know he's got nothing to lose. He's not expected to win the championship at 14 years old. Watch him in Super League. I'm telling you. Well, gee, this is a heartbreaking way to lose your season. I think this is the Heartbreaker of the Year award because up 3-0, masterful power play in Yoshi. Look, I tried a little reverse psychology. I thought for sure going Vapor 4-3 was I may get what was looking good, and then all of a sudden Vapor just found it. I'm happy for Vapor in the sense that he got reverse swept by Pac the previous round. The last round he lost in T4 round 2. He makes up for it, reverses sweeps, but what a terrible way to end your season for Yoshi. He's got to be proud that at least he had a 7-win year. He made some improvements. For Vapor, this is big, man. He doesn't have much. It's already been documented to stay. He's only got a year left. Right, he's got a year in this tournament, and if he makes Super League left, he doesn't have much. So he's got to make every opportunity count. Whereas Yoshi, I think, is going to have to use this as a learning experience because there's clearly something working for him in his gameplay, but it's the thing we've talked about. We saw with DJ when he lost there. We saw with Kev. He doesn't have that clutch gene yet that he needs to develop. I think he's going to learn that. He understands it. Expect him in the offseason to do something about it. Is that a fair assessment, Gene? Thoughts on Vapor? I think Vapor's too far back. His Super League prospects are similar to Caesar and Carson and Lamas. He's going to have to go really deep or win.
I do agree. I mean, again, horrible way for Yoshi to end his season. Was up 3-0 and then gets reverse swept. And I mean, again, this is like another discussion where we talk about how important the tournament win is. That's a major what if for Yoshi with the May Mask right now because he came so close to getting the victory there and just fell short in the last match. So becomes a major what if he actually won that tournament and he wouldn't be in this spot right now. And I think we had a similar situation in D2 also, which we'll get to in a second, or not a second, in a little bit. But yeah, unfortunate way for Yoshi to end. I think it was improvement overall on the season, but just couldn't quite finish out that finale in May, and unfortunately couldn't really get the runs needed to keep himself in the top 15. And unfortunately, that's going to probably be his season. But Vapor keeps himself alive. I haven't really been that impressed with Vapor all year, but maybe could pull a deep run here. We'll see. But just gonna have to see what happens. Vapor's kind of been one of those players who, in my opinion, just kind of like floated around, like hasn't really made much noise in general in both seasons, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. Brock Vapor, interesting matchup. I mean, losers 100% done for the year, but gonna be curious to see how that goes for both of them.
Yep, and we wish Yoshi the best in his recovery. Of course, after that loss, he took it hard, but I know he'll bounce back. Wish Grim the best. This is a sad DQ. I know JT he mentioned it was great to move on, but man, you don't want to see that. Now, not to the guy who created this thing. It was kind of sad not seeing him play. Can't lie. I'm glad he's okay.
He straight up didn't play at all because he had a DQ win in the first round. So
yeah, he was supposed to schedule to play that, and then Drip just couldn't find a way. It found time, and then this happened, and it happens. First time in league history we had someone win a DQ game and lose one. I hope that does not happen again. So we'll move on. JT moves on to the next round, and then for Sanford, we knew this was coming. Myth after Plan A.
I mean, you already know.
He just imploded. This was awful. Oh.
I mean, that one was more or less process of elimination because it didn't pop up yet.
See, I don't know where Myth's head was at. I'm gonna be honest with you. Half the time, I just felt like Sanford was putting a piece of bait out there, and Myth would try to grab it, and Sanford just keep reeling it back. That's what it felt like. I knew half Sanford's playbooks on the broadcast. I was basically guessing everything. It was incredible. I mean, that was just Sanford to the T, a masterclass. 107 wins in the league, at least in a regular season. If you count his playoff success too, I think he's got like 100, 117 or something like that. He's definitely the most accomplished player here. But
still on the bubble.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Myth, man. You know, he just wanted to escape D2, right, which was his ultimate goal.
Which is funny because he wanted to go D2 at the beginning of the year.
And he did, and then of course the incident happened. I don't know how to. This is the one guy I don't know what to say. I don't know where his mind's. I don't know what he can improve in the offseason other than find a plan B, C, D, E. But that takes years. Unfortunately, that takes years to develop. That's not going to happen overnight. It took me 5 years to develop that. Right when I was a kid. Everyone's different. Maybe they can learn better, but to really master the game, to find a plan B, C, D, E, it takes years on years. I don't know if Myth's got that correlation. I'm interested to see how his offseason. Thoughts on Sanford? I don't think he's 100% safe, but this next round he gets the win. I think he's right there on the money because the DQ and then the quad 4 crap will be overshadowed if he can get it done this next round. What do you think?
I think Sanford's on the bubble right now. I mean, we mentioned all of his accolades right now, and he's still on the bubble because a lot of that happened last year. This year's kind of been not a great year for Sanford, all things considered, but still fighting, still in it. He needs this win against Turner to make sure he's in the field. If he doesn't, I think he's going to have to wait and see. I'm not sure if he's going to make the field if he loses this one, especially depending on what the scoreline is, but big matchup for Sanford here against Turner. Definitely gives him a quality win that he's been looking for most of this tournament. I mean, Myth is technically a top 25 win, but like that's borderline, and I mean we kind of saw that. So, yeah, I mean coming off a close match with Leah and then whatever this was, I think Sanford's going to need a big one here against Turner to get the job done. This is a rematch also from the round of 8 in March. We saw there Turner get the win 5-4, so we'll see if history repeats itself or if Sanford makes series 1-1 this season.
Yeah, I mean we saw that game last year. Sanford won, so this is a trilogy. We'll see how the trilogy counteracts here. We'll see who gets the job done in the rubber match, and we'll move on to the next topic. Yeah, we'll conclude. So we're gonna take a little break here. Let's move on to all that D2 LCQ. What do we got going on down there? I know we're getting fired up finally, warming that engine up over here.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff here. I mean, I think this is the interesting thing about the LCQ here because every single game is guaranteed to be a playoff game. So a lot of playoff tensions. That playoff mentality is going to be important. Had 23 players in the LCQ, so we had a first round, which is all complete. Mostly went clean for the most part. Only 2 upsets, and I think there's an argument for both those matchups that it's not really an upset, it's just a seed upset. Short absolutely demolished Sam 4-0. I mean, I don't even know where Sam was following April, completely fell off the map, and we saw that here. Short kind of just walked away with that one. He moves on to the quarterfinals. Not really much to say there. Emmy is in the LCQ. She had to play in the first round. She was able to take out Astel, who had a good run in June, but wasn't really able to show much in August, and unfortunately doesn't really show much here. Emmy moves on in the longest series in D2, which is funny because that's now we had 2 record breaks in August, and now we have another record break in the LCQ. That one lasting an hour 46. So. D2 sometimes likes to run it long, and that's kind of interesting because Emmy switched to a more mid-pack range, and now we see that, so not really sure what's going to go on there. Jenna destroyed Nathan 4-0. Not much really to say there, unfortunately. Nathan's just had a very unlucky season. Jenna, I'm very high on. I believe she has a very good chance to possibly make a run to win the LCQ and go into the D2 championship. She played her quarterfinal match, we'll get to in a second. Ami Taco unfortunately ended in the DQ. Taco had something come up. We wish him the best. Never like to see that happening, but Ami moves on. Amazing Pikachu versus Gumma was interesting because this was a battle between the Pikachu profile pictures. It was interesting because Gumma started off with an early lead, but Pikachu slowly crawled his way back, which is a bit unusual. We usually see him go on a low card, fast pace, but he had to change it up a bit with how Gumma plays. Gumma, the only person who debuted in Tournament 4 to make the LCQ, has their run end here. Amazing Pikachu moves on 4-2. And then Rune was able to beat Ryan C. Ryan C with that great run in August. Rune was really kind of like following around for a little bit. Had a decent showing in April, but not much besides that. Gets the job done there to win that, and then Sky vs Prince was probably the best match of the first round. It's the only game that went 7 actually, and Sky able to survive a very close 4-3, keeps her season alive. Prince unfortunately has their season come to an end after a great August. And then we'll jump into a few of these quarterfinal matches here. Again, not all of them have happened so far, but we'll jump into the ones that did happen. Mark versus Not Short, that didn't happen yet, but that's going to be a good one that will be happening as of the recording, I believe, tonight, or actually, no, it's going to be in a little bit, actually. We're recording this around 4, and I believe the matchup's scheduled for 4 or so. Yeah, so that matchup might be happening in a little bit, but again, we can't really cover that because we're getting this show on the road. Retta Luke kind of ended in an unfortunate way. Both players had a very similar season, and unfortunately, Retta kind of got hosed 6-0 on the Wild plus 4s in 5, I believe. So not really the way you want to have the season to end, but kind of just how playoff Uno goes sometimes, unfortunately. Luke's going to move on there. And then deleted Emmy hasn't happened yet. And then My Hill Jenna, and I think this was the big what if I was talking about when it came to the tournament victories. My Hill in their first tournament won the April Airwave, or didn't win the April, made it to the final of the April Airwave, lost 5-4 to Tapir, and since then didn't get a single win and unfortunately fell into the LCQ. They lost to Jenna 4-2, and I think that's kind of a big question of the what if on getting those tournament wins. And I think it's kind of just shows how important those tournament wins can be, even if it's just the auto spot into the playoffs. It goes to show that those tournament wins are so much more impactful than losing in the finale. So yeah, I mean, KT, if you want to make a quick comment on that before I get to the last 2 matchups that have happened so far in this quarterfinals, I think that would be good, because I think that is an important thing that can be discussed about how important getting a tournament win is versus losing in the final.
Absolutely. With myself and Ashley, there's the perfect example. If I lost that game, where would I be right now? I only have 8 wins, right? 7 regular, 1 DQ, and I mean, I'd still probably be all right, but because of my resume, I probably wouldn't even be in a bi-island contention. That 1 extra win, it kept me in the fight, and now I'm looking pretty good here. And it's the same thing. It's momentum. You can always call yourself, for this season, a tournament winner, right? In my case, a little different. I was a champion. I was a March Madness. I won the Daytona 500 in terms of racing. I won the March Madness. I won the big one, right? Tapir won his February. That's the big one. When you lose to Tapir, especially, and when Hell lost, and Tournament 2, right? It was Tournament 2. That's rough to come back from, because you have to understand that man's promoted. That makes it even more worse. You want to be there one day, and then you also have the mentality of, man, I was right there. Same with Yoshi. He was right there. Same with Nam. He was right there on the doorstep. He might be okay and get away with it. At least he'll be in Super League. But Yoshi was right there. Doesn't matter about Ashley, because she was the first 2 in the finale and lost. But it really shows you that the league, a tournament winner or a tournament championship, if you win March and Steve won, those matter, right? And if you don't think it matters and you don't believe it matters, this is why it matters. Wait till you come September, when the whole body of work is then looked into. And it's the automatic spot. It's the golden ticket. You win the whole thing, welcome to Super League. You win the whole thing, welcome to D2 chip. He could have been, if he won that, if he beats Tapir, maybe he's in the consideration for D2. Maybe he may not be a top 4 player, Mihal, but he'd be in the top 10. And that's a different outlook than trying to fight and claw against an LCQ that's been brutal for sure. Keep it going, though.
Yeah, definitely. And then going into the B bracket here, Jab Ami hasn't happened yet, although that's happening later today. Ryan Reed, Amazing Pikachu hasn't happened yet as of this recording, and then the last 2 have happened. Rune Chloro, I might be the best match of this round specifically. Rune able to survive in a very close 4-3. Chloro's streak of getting a win in each tournament unfortunately comes to an end, and unfortunately, she likely will not be playing next year, which is unfortunate. But I think overall, had a great showing in general. Unfortunately, doesn't quite get as far in the LCQ as she wanted, but really great match, all things considered, with that one. So Rude's going to keep the upset streak alive and kind of emphasizing the momentum of that last push in the playoffs with the LCQ as the 10th seed in the B bracket. So Rune keeps it going, moves on. And then another one where the higher seed was a bye for the first round. Rana Sky, this was another game that goes to 1-7. Sky was able to escape with this one, so that's back-to-back game sevens here. So that playoff mentality is really coming in for Sky, who is barely surviving these matchups. Rana's season comes to an end. I think despite everything, she overperformed expectations. Put up a generally solid fight in general, and has established her own style, which I think is something we were not really expecting to see in D2 in general. But yeah, overall, I think a good season for Rana in terms of the expectations coming in. Sky keeps the momentum going. I was favorable on the 6 line in general, and I mean, we have talked about this before in the past. This 6 line in this league, for some reason, is historically very strong. So both 6 seeds are in the semifinals of each bracket. Is there a possibility we could see both 6 seeds make it to the D2 championship? We'll have to see, but again, there's your recap for what's going on in the LCQ so far. We'll probably have that all updated in the next episode where we'll either be at the finals or have the LCQ finish. So we'll see what happens there. But I mean, the thing with this is that this is technically in a way Tournament 5 for D2, but this is also a playoff tournament in a way. For Tournament 5 and D1, it's regular season. So I think there's a bit of a difference there. And another thing also with every game being a playoff game in specific, it really creates the tension there. We've seen some great matches so far. So overall, KT, I know you haven't really been following the LCQ much, so I won't necessarily ask about your thoughts on it so far, but overall, I think it's been really good so far, and very excited to see how this goes. I think the matchups are just going to get more intense as we go through it.
Like I said, haven't followed it much. We'll see how it goes. I'll follow a little bit more of the D2 championship when the big guys come in, or top guys, excuse me. Look, at the end of the day, it really is. It's nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. In a sense, everything to gain. That's really how you have to approach it. We'll see. There's a lot of things that could happen, right? In terms of just trying to be clean, right? In terms of trying to have a cleaner gameplay in the LCQ. I think the aggression versus clean ratio is the key, right? Understand when to be aggressive, also understand when to be clean. There's a lot that can go right or wrong, in my opinion, with this. So we'll see how it plays out. I think everyone just has to stay on house money, G. It's really, I said this, right, in the reveal show, the D2 Championship reveal show. I said, every champion was once a challenger. And these guys are all challengers right now. They're just trying to upset the apple cart. It's not easy to do. But if they can do it, house money rest of the year. So I'm interested to see who advances to Group A and B. It gives a little bit more of a mixture as well. I'm looking forward to it, for sure. But let's go into the next topic, G. It was a good segment right there. Now we'll get into a little bit of, I think we'll. What do you think? You want to go Super League bubble here? Or you want to talk a little bit of that playoff mentality? I don't care either way.
I think we could do Super League bubble here because I think that kind of falls in line with because playoff mentality we could fall in line afterwards and just kind of cover both general. So I think we'll go with the Super League bubble here.
All right. Well, right now the bubble, we have a couple bubbles to look at. We're going to kind of break this into 4 segments. Right. The first one is who has a chance of the regular season championship. Well, if you're following at home, Brad won, Ashley won, Cap won. Realistically, one of them is probably not going to. If Cap loses, then you can pretty much eliminate him. It comes down to Brad and Ashley, realistically. Those are the 2 you have to look into. Now, if Cap wins, then I think it's between those 3. Brad, however, wouldn't have tiebreaker, and if Cap keeps rolling, then Brad might actually be someone to watch out for going lower, right? Ashley is in the best spot in the sense that there's no head-to-head in terms of they're playing each other. She just got a separate player in Yepes. That's the one thing. Double by Island, you have to look at myself and Tapir. I don't think Nam's in it, right? I don't think he's in it. I don't think anybody else is really in it right now. JT, probably not, even with a win. Tago doesn't have a quad 1 or 2 win coming up. Realistically, I think it comes down to what do we think about me and Tapir? And if Cap then loses, then Cap would go in there and be us 3 for 2 spots. Now, single by island's a little more interesting. Did Nam do enough? Don't know. Because
That's
Tago's
gonna,
still left.
in my opinion, that's gonna be a major wait and see. But
Yes.
keep going.
Tago and JT still remain. JT has the DQ win, right? Tago is clean. The thing is, both guys have horrendous resumes similar to Nam. They all have horrendous resumes. Quad 3 and 4 heaven. That's going to come down to a wait and see. So that's it for the double buys. So now, where's the bubble? You got to think right now, we have to almost say Eli's in the hunt. I know we don't want to, but we have to just throw him in there because of, I don't know. Let's just say he's there. Let's say he did the business, right? He's there, right? He does his thing. He comes back. Everything's fine. He's in. We're going to assume he's safe. Chame should be safe. Tago, JT looking good. So now this is where it gets good. From Lane goes Abion, DJ, Seth, Ypez, Sanford, Toaster, and Bowtie. Those are the people really left. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. What is that? 5. About 10 people left, G. There's really about 10. And you also throw in Carson, who's has something to do. Vapor's there. Brock is there. And I would throw Caesar or Lamas. Those are the only realistic guys. The rest have to win. What I mean by win is I think they just have to win the tournament. Rad and Allen. Because Lamas could make a finale. That could be enough. Where he might have done enough. Same with C. That might be enough just to make a finale. Realistically, I don't know where this is going to lie. If Ypez loses, then he's on the bubble squarely again. And if Bowtie and Toaster take care of business, then one of them would have to get knocked out by default. Because then they would play each other in E8. There's too many scenarios to say I know who's going to be in. I think resumes are too close. I don't know, man. This is tough. And then you throw in, of course, what if Eli's not good? Where do you see this line? I can't make a prediction on who's going to get in my opinion. I don't have a prediction on single by island either. All I know is Brad Ashley are probably good in double by island, and the rest, good luck trying to figure it out. Because at this rate, I don't see a way where we're in a good spot. I think the top 10 right now, top 10 players, they're all pretty much safe. I would say JT, Tago are safe. I don't see how we leave Chomik or Eli, even if he's good out of the field. Nam is safe. It's just 11th on bat. I don't know what to think, G. It is pure chaos. It could easily take 3 days to figure out who's going to be in the field. Is that a fair assessment?
I mostly agree with that. Although I think the problem with the bubble is I don't think all these guys are in the same spot. Like I think, for example, Ghost is in this bubble, but I think I'm looking at this entire field. I think Ghost is in the best spot out of the entire bubble. I would put the least stock in him missing the field, or I guess the most stock in him making the field still. But it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of conversations. Going to have to break down the resume. Is going to have to break down how each match went in a way. I do think some of these score lines are going to matter, so going to be curious to see how that goes. But yeah, I'm not really sure yet. I usually can't make a list until the tournament's over, or at least in the finale. So I'm not really sure where everything's going to be at right now. Like in my opinion, I think Ashley Brad is a pretty comfortable 1-2 right now, unless Captain like spoils the field. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think there's a lot of shifting that still can be done, but I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. But I still think you got to consider that outside of the top 25 possibility. I mean, we talk about Lamas, Caesar, possibly. I think they need to do a little more. I don't know. It just depends on what path they really get. And then we're talking about Brock, who was not really in the top 25. He was in the top 25 in after tournament 2, but then fell off. But again, going to be curious to see how this all plays out. It's really one of these weird situations where so much can happen, but then also so little could happen. So it just depends on how the rest of this tournament goes, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to look into, G. I think it's going to come down to, in my humble opinion, who has a little bit of the edge on each other. If you have the playoff mentality edge, I think you could push yourself. There's also the theory of, what do Rad and Allen hold? They have nothing to lose. If Radden goes out there and beats Tago, then Tago's safe, but there goes his by island chance, right? If if Sanford beats JT ain't getting no Island, right? If Allen beats Bo Super League's done. There's just too many. There's too many factors that we don't know, and those two guys play a lot of spoiler. And I think Cesar Lamas is another game, Spoiler City. Carson, Spoiler City, Vapor. There's just too much variables right now to just pinpoint something. I think the biggest losers are not even Lane. I still think it's Avion, DJ, Seth. Right, Yoshi and Monkey were already out. We can't really say they're losers. They were already out of it. Drip unfortunate, Sting unfortunate. We knew Myth and ALP were long shots. I really think those are the people that are unfortunately they take the biggest hit because they're all very close in nature. Avion said DJ, but I don't know if any of them are going to make it. They're going to need some help. They need Yepez to lose. They definitely need a Sanford loss. They for sure would love a bow tie loss and toaster loss. And they need help. So they're interested to see how the game's going next round. There are people watching, which is not the worst spot to be in, but I wouldn't envy it at all because that's tough to really. It's really week 5. That's really, you know what that spot is, G? It's week 5 in Super League. You unfortunately had the week 5 bye, and we all know how that went last year. So you don't want that bye. That's kind of really what it is. You're sitting duck and you're just hoping things go your way, which is not a good spot. You want to be in control in a game where sometimes it can be out of control for sure. All right, well, we'll go into a little relegation talk, and then we'll talk about the playoff mentality. So, G, relegation is set, right? Allen took care of business, so he is gone. He's not going to have to worry about that. Good to see him back in D1. But what do we got here? We got an interesting setup. Talk us through.
Yeah. So, sorry. Repeat the question again. Sorry. I'm sorry. I had to check something else. Yes, of course, relegation. Sorry. I thought we were talking about the playoff mentality, but.
No, we'll talk about this first. Then we'll get to that later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess topic 4 here, relegation tournament. So. We've gone through our 5 tournaments, or we're in the middle of tournament 5, but we officially have our bottom 12 here. So relegation tournament is going to begin to keep their spot in D1. This year it's a little. This is the first year we're doing it. It's also a little weird this year because we have some people who decided to just straight up drop out. So Cologne, Bolton, and unfortunately Fitzy are all getting relegated. They're not competing. So. All 3 of those guys will be auto-relegated, although I don't think Cologne's ever coming back to the lead. Bolton came back recently, but it's probably just spectating them. I think Fitzy's the big one, just has kind of been out of it, and unfortunately just has been another bad year, and unfortunately this time it's going to cost him his D1 spot, so I know that's got to suck for you. But, I mean, before we get into this, any quick thoughts on those 3? It's probably just really Fitzy, because Cologne was like, he walked in the door and then walked right out, so... Not really much to say there, but...
Well, at the end of the day, Fitzy, my boy, right? You know, look, it's hard to talk about because I have a lot of respect for Fitzwater. But I think he'll be all right. I think he's going to be content at some point. He'll be all right, but we'll see how it goes with him come next year. As far as the other 2, Jeff, I really wasn't close to. I really have no idea what to say about Cologne. That was just whatever. But regardless, we'll see how it goes with those guys. The rest, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. There's a lot of guys that you like to see stay. But there's also a lot of heartbreak that's going to happen in terms of someone's got to go down there, right? Someone has to sign a contract to go down there. So we'll see how it goes. Keep it going, G. Tell us about those matchups.
With three people withdrawing pretty much, at this point that leaves us with 9 people. So this first round's going to be a little weird, but it's going to be the 2 bottom seeds who are going to go at it. So that's going to be Payne Faust, who technically ends the season as the 62nd seed, but for the sake of just making things easier, he's the 61st seed. And he'll be going up against Eric Monaco, who had a pretty decent run in the the Space September. Had a pretty good match there, but still came up on the short end. Again, this is the interesting thing about this relegation tournament, because you're pitting the bottom of the bottom here, the bottom of the barrel here. So this is the true definition of the bottom barrel, because these are the 2 bottom seeded guys of the entire league going out in this first round here. So any thoughts on this one, and then make a prediction here? It's going to be best of 7, 1 power play. So same rules that we follow with the first and second rounds, but I mean, any thoughts on this one for both these players? Bottom 2 players in the league that are technically still trying to fight for their G1 spot. Just any thoughts on how this might go?
Oh man, I don't know, G. I mean, shoot, Eric, he looked good, right? He looked good against Ghost.
This is the fun part about this conversation because now we got to talk about the people who don't get talked about all year.
I don't really know what to think. I mean, Eric looked good against Ghost. Payne, he didn't show up to half the game. I don't know. I'll throw a dart blind. I'll go Eric, whatever, 4-3. I guess. I don't know. This is just you're basically going into this thing blind, pin the tail on donkey, and unfortunately, there've been 2 donkeys all year. That's kind of how I view it. I hate to say it like that, but that's just that's how I see it. It's gonna call like it is, right? Tell like it is. Look, I think Eric had a little bit more to offer because he did like the organization of the bot. Payne didn't even play on me. He didn't play me. So I have no idea what we're expecting. We're going into this thing straight blind, no idea. Who knows? Hope for the best. I'll say Payne will put up a fight, but enough. Give me Eric 4-3. That's my prediction. What do you think, Z?
I'm gonna go Eric 4-2. I think I was a little impressed with what they did in Space September. I think they could bring some of that momentum, but it's gonna be a hard hill to climb here. Again, usually this first round would be the bottom 8 seeds, but again, with the 3 people withdrawing, it's really just gonna be the bottom 2 here. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this goes. Both have to win another match after this. If they win it, I'm gonna go with Eric 4-2. Payne, I just haven't really seen all year. And I mean, we look at the game records here. Both played in 3 tournaments. Payne went 2-12 in game record, and Eric went 3-12. So again, not very good in general, but that's just kind of how it is. I mean, in terms of in terms of how many game wins they got, they're technically both second and third worst in the entire league. So make what you will with that, but um, I mean, yeah, actually no, that'd be third and fourth worst, but still. Again, this is kind of bottom of the barrel, but the winner of that matchup will face Aiden Smith, who's technically the highest seed in this relegation tournament. But I think the round 2 matchups are going to be a little more interesting here. So, I mean, we'll keep it on track here with Monaco here, since we both picked Monaco. So this next matchup would be Aiden Smith versus the winner of Monaco Faust. For the assumption of predictions, we'll just assume it's Monaco. So any thoughts on how this matchup could go and what you're thinking will happen?
Payne Smith just has to clean up the Uno calls. He should have beat Ashley in a sense, and he should have always took a 7, and he can do it. I think Aiden Smith will be really motivated after that last collapse. I think he could be someone scary to watch in the future. I'm going to go A-Train Smith in this one 4-1. I'm not sure if Eric's ready for this, because at this rate, if he does get the job done, you got to look at this and say, man, this is A-Train Smith, who took potentially the number 1 tutor player in this league, the limit. That's a hard sell to just not say he wins this game. I'll go A. Smith. He cleans up those Uno call-out mistakes. He wins the game.
I'm gonna agree here. Aiden's 4-1. I mean, we haven't been very high on Aiden much throughout the year, but I think he'll get the job done here. He can absolutely beat the players who are kind of below him in terms of skill, and I think no matter what way Aiden Smith, even though maybe not one of the best players in the league, definitely has the skills needed to get the job done against kind of this lower tier. So I think Aiden Smith stays in D1, gets a bit of a scare here though, being in the bottom 12 here. He's probably gonna probably light a tail under his fire for next year, but we'll see what happens with that. Next matchup here would be James Ellison versus Brando, I believe. So. Thoughts on this one? I mean, I think there's an argument both guys could have maybe escaped this relegation tournament, Ellison especially, but I mean, Brando went 0-4 on the year, missed the Space September due to a DQ, and then Ellison was 1-5 on the year. 10-22 in game records compared to Brando's 5-16. So Ellison has more game wins, but also a ton of losses here, and especially coming off with no momentum here after getting swept. So, I mean, any thoughts on this one? I mean, these are matchups are kind of interesting because this is like the bottom of the barrel here. Not really people you talk about much throughout the year, but it's going to be interesting to see how they can do going up against each other to maybe prove that they may be down here, but they're not the bottom of the bottom.
Brando, I think might actually have momentum here. He might, but I don't know, man. Ellison had everything, and he just didn't. I'll go Brando. I hate to go against my boy James, but I'll go 4-3 Brando. I think Ellison, that's a lot of trauma he had to deal with that loss. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Brando here. I think even despite him not playing on this Bob much, he's gonna find a way to make it happen. I think Brando is going to find a way. I kind of think he'll find something special and have that extra gear. Whereas Ellison maybe just too traumatized after that loss to Chomik. Can be close though. I think it's closer than people think. I'll go Brando 4-3. Be closer than people think. What do you think?
So it's interesting. You have Ellison dropping down. I don't know. I feel like Ellison's a little bit more motivated to try to keep his spot in D1 here. I'm probably going to go with I think 4-3, but maybe Ellison's favor. I don't know. This is going to be a close matchup. I could see this going either way. It will be interesting to see how this plays out. But again, this is kind of the scary thing about this tournament because if you lose in this tournament, you're going down to D2, which I mean, I think some people don't want, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, especially for some of these players. Could give them a bit of a better building ground to establish their game plan and whatnot, and maybe do better next year. But that's just kind of the reality with promotion and relegation. I think that's really just going to be something we'll be seeing going forward. But all right, on to the third match here of the second round or the final round. Man, this is against two people who I mean have had some hype in the past for different reasons. And I mean these are two players who were in the league since tournament 1 of last year. It's going to be Zach versus old Smoky Clint Green. So
Yes, sir.
Interesting matchup here. We're losing one of our players from last year, confirmed. So any thoughts on this one? I know you're high on Zach, but I know you've also had some issues with Clint in the past. Any thoughts on how this might go?
Yep, that's my reaction with Clint Green for sure on that one. But look, I think Karma is a little best served cold. Z. I think I don't know what Clint was doing that day. Good guy, I'm sure in real life sometimes, but he ain't staying sober. He's probably smoked the hell out. I'm going Zach 4-1. There's just no way Clint stays sober. That's the prediction. If he stayed sober, he could win the game. But he don't stay sober, he ain't gonna win the game. So give me Zach 103. I think the crazy thing, I think they played last year. Clint won, but I think that was a case of just the league was so young and the rules were just completely washed compared to what they are now. So what was that?
I mean, well, I know a lot of people will be rooting for Clint here, but definitely considered a fan favorite. But gonna have to fight Zach, who's kind of been on a downward spiral since joining the league last year, and trying to find something here. Maybe this could be the start of something better. But I mean, again, Zach 1-5 on the year, 9-23 in game wins, and then Clint 0-4, 6-16. I mean, we have to remember the completely blown loss in May to Jesse Turner. So. Major what if there, but we'll see what ends up happening with this. But I think Zach's definitely going to come in as the favorite player here, but he's got to bring the energy here. Otherwise, he'll be going down to D2, which we'd hate to see. But last matchup here, and I think this one's kind of interesting because it's Sam England versus Leah. Leah is the only player who played in all 5 tournaments and didn't get a single win. But I think the interesting thing here is when you look at some of the numbers. She's 0-5 in series win, of course, but she's 9-20 in game wins. And you compare that to Sam England. Sam England does have a series win, 1-5. He got that in March though, and his game record is actually worse than Leah's. It's 8-23. Leah has a higher average finish with 45.4 compared to Sam England's 48.4. So that's a 3 placement separation. Sam England's technically the higher seed because he does have the series win, but some of the numbers are saying Leah might have had a slightly better season, even though she didn't get a series win. I mean, this is going to be an interesting one. What do you think about this one? I think Leah really showed out in the Space September, though, against Sanford.
Well, originally it was supposed to be Leah Allen. I would have said Allen would destroy, right? If that would have happened, that's just over. I think this is the perfect matchup for Leah. I think she wins this one 4-1. I just don't know if England's style. Well, I think it could be better, right? In a sense, it could be better and develop. The problem is he needs time to develop that, and he doesn't have the off-season luxury because we're just starting up. He needs a couple months to develop that. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think Leah wins 4-1. It's that simple. What do you think?
I think the real thing that comes down to this matchup is will Leah come in prepared to face this kind of play style that Sam tries to bring. And I think if she does, she'll win this easily. I'm gonna say 4-1 in Leah's favor. She's been looking for that victory all year, and she's come close a few times. I've kind of been high on her a few times, but hasn't really been able to get the job done. Maybe this is where she gets it and keeps her D1 spot for next year. Tries to builds herself more time to try to figure out what she needs to do to build that platform of success. So again, going to be very, very interesting to see how this all plays out. But those are your matchups for the relegation tournament. It's going to be big for all those players because they got to win, and then now's the time to do it because you can't lose anymore at this point. If you lose, you're going down to D2, which for some people may not want it, but again, not the worst thing in the world. You could definitely build a platform at D2, and I think there's a lot of great competition down there. So again, really going to be curious to see how this all plays out, and I'm personally looking forward to it because I think this really gives a lot of these guys a chance to show what they're made of because they're going against people who are in the same region as them instead of someone who's like in the top 5 like Ashley or yourself. You're going against people who at most have a singular series win. So really able to be, it's a proving ground in a way to show that you deserve to stay in D1. So I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for. None of the games will be streams, but I think a lot of players will be interested in seeing how those all go down, as that will be likely running during the round of 16 for the Space September, which we'll get into next. So KT, how about you start us off here with that one?
I thought doing playoff mentality.
Oh, playoff mentality. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought we already talked about that. My mistake.
No, we just discussed it a little.
Yeah, no, well, scratch that. We're gonna go to playoff mentality now. So, I mean, KT, now take it away. We'll go with playoff mentality.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about this. Is important because really all year is you're in a playoff mentality. Yeah, no problem. But you're in a playoff mentality all year in the sense that that's for Clint. Point is, you're in a playoff mentality. Yeah, but point is, you're in a playoff mentality all year. You go from 0-1 to 1-0, right? That's all. Those are the only two outcomes. You either win the game and you go 1-0, or you lose and 0-1. But the next time we play a game is a group. There is no such thing as 0. Yes, it's 0-1 and 1-0, but there's a caveat, right? You could be 0-0 week 1. You may just be on bye. You could be on a bye, and you don't have to do anything. You could be 0-1, but then you have a bye week 2. So what do you learn that by? Oh, I won 1-0, I get to go in a bye. Does that break momentum? There's a lot more ways to look at playoff mentality in a group format. Because all year it's either an 0-1 or 1-0. You're either done or you keep moving on. In groups, you have 5 weeks to figure it out. Right? Now, 5 theoretical weeks, or hypothetically. Not theoretically every week is a week, right? It's not 7 days. Though it is close, though, because of media. Point is, I'm interested to see what happens when these players that have no idea what this is, right? You got the rookies have no idea. Let's face it, unless Sanford and Yepes make it, assuming they make it, right? Let's say one of them makes, because I don't know if both are. Let's say one, and soon they join me. 14 out of the 16 guys have no idea what Super League is. No idea what single buy island is. I don't even know it. We've never seen double buy island. We have no idea, and they have no idea how group stage works. Right? It's going to be fascinating to me to see how these guys skin the cat, understand evolution and the process of what a real playoff game is. Because you're now playing for a trophy, right? You're not playing for a tournament win or a resume booster. There is no resumes in Super League. Who cares if you beat the 15th seed in a group? Doesn't matter. All about it is the trophy. You have to change from resume to trophy hunting. I'm interested to see who can do that because there's a lot of people in this Super League you got to think are going to be rookies. Let's just assume Nam is in, Cap is in, Ashley, Brad. Those 4 to appear. That's 5. Chomik is 6. Maybe Abion gets away with Murr in 7. Right? Let's assume 7. And the D2 champ. So you're looking at 7 or half the field's going to be rookies, G. One way or license. What if Allen or there's a chance 8 or 9 people could be rookies, right, in terms of class. Then, of course, you're going to have your one legend right now. Maybe Yepes is 2, and then Sanford your master. Then you'll have some vets sprinkled in, and then a couple sophomores. Most of the field is rookies. And I want to know what their mentality is, and really what it's going to start with is there's 2 sides of the coin. There's the playoff mentality during the actual game, but then there's the mentality off the media side. Super League media is heavy. Okay, there's a lot of media that goes on with it. It's an event. It's a festival of the season over. It encompasses the season. I want to see what the psychological warfare is of the Brads, the Ashleys, the Cass, and the Beers. Because I'd be more interested in that. We all know what a Sanford could do on the table. You know what he could do on the media side. He's ruthless. KT, ruthless. Even though I'm the host, you give me some questions, I can be ruthless. Right? Maybe not so much ruthless and I'm going to be direct. I can be witty. Right? Same thing with Yepes. He can be ruthless and witty. I'm interested to see what the mentality will be when it comes playoff time, how they adapt to every piece that's around, not just the table and off the table, but within themselves. It's golf, G. This is a golf game. I really compare this to golf. It's just you out there on the course with a couple clubs, and where's the lie? That's Uno, right? It's you out there on the table with cards, and where do you lie? That's how it really works in this league. It's a very fascinating topic. We're already seeing it with a little bit in Division 2, a little bit more house money for the LCQ guys, but we'll see a little bit more when we get to the Final Four of the D2 Championship. Now they're starting to smell Athens. You start to smell that Greek Adriatic air, right? You start to smell the old Mediterranean out there. Things start to get a little bit different. You start smelling that water. It starts to get a little bit real. It starts to sink in. Those guys may have one advantage if they're going to start to have that playoff mode before us in terms of a championship. But at the same time, these rookies are built different. These sophomores are built different. Right? These veterans are built different. These guys aren't supposed to win. I want to make this clear, G. When you and me were in Super League, we all beat each other up, right? It was war. Okay, and you can agree to that. We didn't care about the event, right? We really didn't care. We wanted to win the Super League to be the first ever champion, right? There was no buy. It was war. It was ruthless war. A lot of these guys care about what's going on in this league from an event perspective. I think they're going to appreciate it more. There's going to be guys like myself that are expected to win, right? Because I was here last year. If Sanford, Yepes get there, they're expected to win. Maybe Ashley or Brad, number one player. Maybe Ashley by default because of world champion status. You're looking at if Sanford, Yepes don't make it, then who's really expected to win? Is it just really KT, Ashley, maybe the number one player? Are they the only three that are expected to win? The rest are just on house money, right? It's a fascinating dynamic that I don't think we're ever going to have the answer to until we get a year under our belt. Because I want this to be the format at least for next year, and then we can reevaluate if we have to lower the field or whatever. But excluding the D2 champion, that's a different story. Point is, I'm just fascinated on what the mentality will be from the start of the year where you have the dream, and now the dream is in reality, right? It's getting closer. You can see that dream. I just want to see what the people will do. From a host perspective, from a humanitarian perspective, humanistic side, I just want to see it. I'm fascinated by this stuff. Right, because I'm not a psychologist. I didn't study this. This is just my own free time, right? My own free will. I like to see how people react in certain situations and learn from it. Whether I'm right or wrong, I can learn from other people, right? Maybe there's something that they're doing that I'm not doing. I like to pick up in terms of a mentality side. Nothing to do with the game. The game is the game, right? I'm stubborn to a point where I have a certain way of doing things, and I believe it's right. I can adapt, but I won't tell you. But I'll always be open to learning who has a better mentality and who actually is doing the work off the table that I can use in my game. That's my thoughts on that, G. Now to you. What's your thoughts on this little 5 minutes of playoff mentality and what do you want to say about it? Because you're seeing this right now in D2.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the interesting form of the D2 because I think the true playoff mentality comes in earlier than D1. But on a general topic, I mean, we talk about this a lot, and I mean, it's really just kind of locking in, focusing, make sure all the mistakes that you made in the regular season are gone. And I mean, this just kind of applies to all sports in general. I'm not saying that Uno is a sport per se, but it's a form of competition. So maybe all forms of competition in general. It's that postseason mentality where it's like a loss that's it for you. So especially with this format, you just got to make sure you're doing all you can to win because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. And you got to figure out what you need to do in order to get that job done. So. Again, some players who are higher up may be a little bit more comfortable in the flow with the playoff mentality, but then you could also argue some people who are lower, closer to that cut line, or more locked into that playoff mentality and have that kind of momentum flow into the actual playoffs for them. So it kind of is a positioning thing, really, sometimes with how locked in you are. And I think really the people who come out on top are the one who has the best mixture of both. So We've seen the runs of people who go from the bottom to the top. We saw that with Gapez, who went to the 10th seed last year. And then we also see it where the historical chokes in a way, where the people who are on top don't end up playing well in the playoffs, and then they just don't win the season. So it's an important mentality to have, and if you don't have it, it's going to be a tough road ahead. But if you do have it, it's just making sure you're placing down the right cards and what you need, and just executing on it. So
That's the best way to describe it, man. It really is. It's the best way to describe it. You gotta know when to go all in. You gotta know when to step off the throttle a little bit. I think it's gonna be an interesting complexity for sure. Moving on. All right, we'll move on to the last thing, G. We're gonna preview the Starburst 16. A lot of great matches. Let's kick it off though. I believe the only battle from in-state Virginia, Virginia Crime, Bo versus Allen. Probably the last time we'll ever see this too for Allen, as he will be moving to Delaware for the 25 season.
would that be have we had a player play in Delaware?
No, that'd be a new state.
No, that'd be a new one. So there we go.
Actually, Ed as well. Ed also moved to Wisconsin, so that's a new state for next year. So 2 new states. I know Brendan, but that's different. Look, this is a tough one to predict. I really want to go Bo here because I think Bo has more to play for. Allen could be, but you gotta think Allen is not gonna have those move-in things till the end of the month. Oh, it's a tough one, G. I'm gonna go Allen wins this one 5-4. I think the momentum, he's figured something out that not a lot of people know about him because there's no tape on this guy. Same with Radden. There's no tape on him. You really don't know what he's going to do, right? We have no idea what style. Even that game I was watching back trying to prepare for this episode, I really don't know what he's playing sometimes. Plays a lot of the match like a practice match, to be honest. And Bo, in a way, does the same thing. He plays a lot like practice sometimes. He just thinks it's whatever. It's kind of weird. It's almost similar styles, but polar opposite personalities. One's very interesting in the sense that Bowtie's been just reborn, and Allen, in a way, is also more just house money. He's not been reborn because he feels like he's always been a good player. He talked about that, not trying to go to D2. I say he gets enough momentum here. I'll go 5-4. I'm not confident, though. This is a tough one to predict. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think Bo has the momentum, but Allen's kind of riding off that high of securing their spot in the D1. Although, to be honest, I feel like that was the main priority for them. So I think some of that momentum kind of runs dry. He's never been in the best of 9 before, so I think some of that inexperience does come there because I think it is a slightly different mentality. I'm going to go with Bo 5-3. I think Bo continues this upset run. I do believe in the run here at this point, and that the round of 8 last time was not a fluke at this point. And then Allen, I think, is just happy that he's still a D1. So I think that's really just kind of how it goes. I think that's the best case scenario for everyone. So I'm going to have a bow tie winning 5-3.
All right, that's fair. It's going to be a toss-up game. Definitely a toss-up game. Could go either way. Another one toss-up, Carson Toast. Carson finally gets his first stream game of the round of the tournament. Toast had that big win over myself. You know, history would say you get a big win like that, the momentum would carry. I think it will, but it won't be the same for everybody. I'm going to say he'll carry in this situation because I really think Toaster Guy has something figured out on a lot of ammo. And even with a little ammo, he uses it early, and he likes to rub the polished players the wrong way. That's what I've learned. Carson is one of those polished players, believe it or not, in 7 to 10. So he plays a lot like Brock. I think Carson will put a fight. I'll go Toasty 5-4. It'll be a close game, though. I think Toaster Guy will find something to keep his season and Carson's dream. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I think this is kind of the matchup that kind of leads up to what defines Carson all year. I'm having Toaster Guy win this 5-2, not because Carson's a bad player or anything like that, but feels like Carson just kind of gets those games where he just really isn't able to do much, and then just isn't able to capitalize in general. So I think Toaster Guy, he's in a playoff hunt here at this point. He needs these wins. I think he'll get the job done here. Carson is a little bit on the outside, so I don't know if he'll be able to get it, but. Toaster Guy 5-2 keeps the momentum going, makes up an interesting round of 8 matchup for the Venus region.
We'll see how it goes. We'll move on to the Mars region. We'll see if it is Toaster Allen or Toaster Bo. We'll see. We'll start with Tago Radden. I'm going to cut to the chase. If Tago doesn't win this game, questions are going to start to arise on, is Radden really playing a strategy of just rattle people's cages? And is that actually working? I think that gets shut down. Give me Radden. I'm just going to give me Tago beating Radden pretty convincingly here, 5-2. Simple as that. I think Tago's just got too many looks. What do you think?
I'm gonna go Toggo 5-3 mainly because I think Ron just tries to be an instigator, and I don't think Toggo's really that type of player to just kind of get like take the bait really. So I think he'll just ignore it, brush it aside, and just kind of go with it. So yeah, I really don't have much to say on this. I think it's kind of a shock run that Ron has made it this far. I've just kind of not really been impressed with his style all year, and it's just really just been kind of mental games for the most part. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, but. I mean, on that note, I mean, we could mention a quick stat about the round of 16 here. What'd you say? It was like 51 different players made the round of 16 this season, if I'm not mistaken, or something like
No,
that.
43, 43.
43. Okay, well, I was overshooting a little bit, but 43. That's
A
still
lot of people did.
a lot of people. So yeah, a lot of competitiveness in this league, but just wanted to quickly mention that. But we'll go to the next one.
It's a cup, man. It's really, it was like the cup series. Anybody has a shot now. It's incredible. We'll see if we get those. Probably could get those numbers up too, to be honest, next year. I'll move on to the next match, which is probably going to be one of the 4 I'm looking forward to watching, or I think in this case streaming. Ashley Pez, the kickoff games that are around starting tomorrow too. Closer than people think. Ashley has this really innate style, plays a lot. In fact, the way I see it, plays a lot like myself, but also has some different characteristics about myself and her that separates our game. I remember vividly when I played Yepes last year, it was a style that it knew how to get to Yepes. I'll go Ashley 5-4. It's close to that. Yepes will have more motivation, sense that if he doesn't win this game, he's not guaranteed, and a lot of questions are going to arise on resume. I say Ashley gets it done. Number 1 player, possibly, if she wins this game. Could be in a fight with Brad. I'll go Ashley 5-4. What do you got?
I think Yepes really needs this win here. I think he's going to be motivated. I don't think he wants to miss Super League. I'm actually going to go with Yepes here, 5-3. Technically not an upset in terms of seeds, but maybe to some people it is. I don't know. I think Yepes is motivated to make the field, and I think this win will put him in. So I'm going to say Yepes 5-3 gets the job done, and makes sure he's in the Super League field after pretty much being outside of the top 15 all year.
We'll see how it goes. It's be a good match. That's gonna be one to watch. And this next one, gee, this is probably, oh man, what a match! Top 5 Super League ranked game. Probably the biggest match since Ashley Cap KT Ashley. It's up there. I think Brad he's not. I haven't seen signs of Brad taking the night off, and Cap has been doing that for the last 3 tournaments. I'm gonna say Brad gets it done 5-4. I think the low tides. If Cap was the better seed, I think he wins that game on a 5-carder. Brad is not going 5 on that last game if we get there. I think power play is going to come into play. Cap hasn't been to a Sweet 16 since what, T2, since he's won. It's his first entrance since basically April. It's been a while. I think Brad's got more experience in this round. I'm going to go Brad on a slight edge. I think it's Brad Ashley is going to continue the fight into the next round for number 1 player. Give me Brad 5-4, and now we'll put Cap on the bubble with Sapir for that double bye. What do you got?
I'm going to go with Brad here, 5-3. I think this will be a quicker paced match, but I think Brad's kind of able to be flexible in terms of the pace. So I think he'll be ready for captain, and yeah, I don't know. I think Brad's just going to keep the momentum rolling. Could use another run here to just build up hype for his Super League because he's going to probably be waiting a little bit before he actually starts playing. So I don't know. Probably I think Brad wins 5-3. Just tries to get another win on his belt and build some more momentum.
This next game is just very hard for me to pick. Oh man, these are 2 guys I know, like brothers. Man, this is asking to choose a family member.
I mean, I do have a pick, but I have 1 point I'm just going to bring up towards when I do it, but you could go ahead to start off.
Caesar plays a dynamic style. Lamas has talked about going free, be free. I've died on the hill all year. I'm still going to die on the hill. And if I lose, I lose. All right, I'll cash out at some point, but I'm not going to cash out here. I think Lamas beating Ghost is enough of a looks to where I think that's more impressive than what Caesar did against Riders. I'll go Cody 5-4. I hate to make a pick because they're both my brothers, but gosh dang, I don't know. Something about Cody. He seems to be back in the game. Unfortunately, the prediction came true for Caesar. We just didn't get Ghost, and he needed that big fish. And this technically isn't a big fish. He would have to go to the next round. I think Cody gets revenge on, well, not revenge on Caesar, but gets revenge on the haters a little bit, right? That have been counting him out all year. I think he gets win 6 and keeps it rolling. What do you think? Tough game to predict, really is.
Here's the real thing when it comes to my prediction. I mean, we look at Caesar all year, and we look at how he doesn't really have a quad 1 match and doesn't really do well against quad 2. I think the real thing, though, is he's very, very strong against quad 3, and what quad is Llamas in?
3.
Exactly. So.
And 4. And quad 4 as well. Quad 4 is
Quad 4 as well, of course, but that's besides the point. This run so far has kind of just been what Caesar's been doing all year, where he's beating up on these quad 3, quad 4 guys, but the moment he gets up to a quad 2, or even someone who could be a quad 1, just kind of isn't able to get the job done. I think that continues here, and we're going to see a situation here where he's going to face one of these quad 1 players, and it's going to be whether he shows up or not. So I think he continues beating up on the quad 3, quad 4. I'm going to say Caesar 5-3 moves on to the next round, and I think that next round is going to be interesting if that ends up being the result.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Both guys know what's on the line. I would say that would be the first true playoff game for both players. Bo and Allen, that's a little different, right? In the sense that you got to look. Allen's got to win the whole thing. It's not a playoff game. It's just got to win the whole thing. And for Toaster guy, I don't know. Right? It's hard because he's in that bubble conversation already. Did he do enough? It's hard to say. This is just a true loser's done for sure, 100%. We know. And the next game, also loser's done 100% for sure. Brock Vapor. I know you're going with Brock. It's hard to ignore William Brock, man, what he did. I really think he's going to win this game, but, man, my heart tells me Vapor's got something cooked. My heart tells me Vapor's got something cooked that we haven't seen all year, right, in terms of maybe he's going to find something in mentality. After winning that 4-3, maybe he realized there's a wake-up call waiting. I'm going to go Vapor 5-4. I think I did that for every single game. It has to go 9. I'm going to go Vapor 5-4. I think he's going to find some on the higher tier package where Brock struggled all year. Give me Vapor on higher tier, wins the job. What do you got? I know you're going to get Brock, though, for sure.
I mean, I have to go with Brock here. I can't cash out on such a major bet I made. So I'm going to go Brock 5-2 here. I'm just going to have to ride with Brock till the end here, even if he doesn't play very well in one of these matches. I made that prediction. I had to stick by it, and I'm going to stick by it here. So I have a little more confidence after the non-game, but Brock 5-2, I'm going to go with that. We'll see what happens. Vapor, I haven't really been impressed with all year, but maybe he'll pull something out we haven't seen before.
The last one, the trilogy, JT Sanford. Boy, oh boy, this is going to be a war. Does JT get the card luck? I mean, that's kind of where we're at right here with this, right? I'm going to say JT will get some card luck. I think that's just natural progression with Jesse Turner. He always does. He'll win the battles early and get up maybe 4-3. But Sanford's going to win the war and find the last 2 games. He'll pull a Caesar where he was down. Last power play, he flushed him, finds a way. Give me Sanford 5-4, gets revenge from March, and keeps his Super League dream alive. Going Sanford here. Barely, though. JT will be locked in either way in Super League no matter what.
I think one of the interesting things you have to... I think one of the interesting things you have to consider also is I think Turner kind of escaped the area of time where he's got distractions with his wedding and whatnot. He's escaped that now, and he's still in. So I think that's a big weight off his shoulders here. Being able, and he's a married man now, so he's taken out the distractions, and now he's reaping the benefits here. So that might be some good vibe momentum going into this one. So I think there's a lot going for Turner here. For Sanford, I mean, he's really just fighting to make sure he's in. If he wins this match, I think he makes the field. If not, it's going to be a major wait and see for him. But it's just not been the year for Sanford, and I don't really know what it is. It just something has not clicked, and I mean, we saw this matchup in March, and Turner was able to walk away with this one with the victory 5-4. So I'm not sure if this goes 9 for the sake of a bunch of nonsense that could happen on the table. I feel like I predict this a lot. I'm going to go with a 5-3, but I guess I'm being a bit of a contrarian here, but I'm going to say Turner gets it done. I think the thing with big things like a wedding and whatnot, or I guess in a way getting a house or anything like that, is you at the first it's like not a great thing to have as a distraction, but once you escape those first few days where it's a distraction, you kind of reap the benefits of it, and it's more of like a good momentum booster. It's kind of like a power up in a way. So Turner being powered up by having a wife instead of just a fiance, so he's now married. I think that's actually going to help him, and I know that's not necessarily anything on the table per se, but the idea of things powering you up and motivating you to do things and getting the job done, it's something that I think needs to be looked at, and I think that's something you definitely see in a lot of different other competitions in general. So I think Turner rides high on the honeymoon vibes, and I think he's going to win it 5-3. Sanford, I think, is going to wait and see. But if you ask me, I think Sanford's going to make it in, but as like the 14th, 15th seed.
We'll see how it goes. We're going to see how it goes. It's an intriguing talking point with those two. Both guys know what's on the line, especially Sanford. It can be interesting. I think both guys are going to have a fun time with that one. Well, that's it for G. We're done for the episode here. We'll have one more episode, then we'll have the last episode, of course, recapping things before we get into the good stuff. Good episode. I think a lot of intriguing stuff that come down the pipeline. A lot of players are in must-wins or in must-do-wells, and we'll see how it goes. It all starts tomorrow, round 1 Tuesday. We're going quick here, very quick. My gosh.
Yeah. Also, a much shorter episode also this time also as well.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I mean, we had a hell of a show. Last two shows, the reveal was 2.5 hours, and the last episode was 2:40. So we're glad we get a little shorter episode. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Pond, of course, our home base YouTube, which has been our main base. Appreciate it. Who's going to make the field? Is there a bubble burster? Do Rad and Allen pull the unthinkable? We'll find out all, as there's only 4 left around in the regular season, the 16, 8-4, and the finale. We'll see you then. Back for the Eclipse 8, where we had an eclipse in 2024, but who will eclipse it away and shine bright after the Starburst 16? Good, everybody. We'll see you then.